All right. Good morning, everybody. We are just barely going live. We're getting started here. Happy Easter, my friends. Happy Easter. We're going live to talk about autism. If you're an autism parent, if you suspect your child may be autistic, or if you suspect you may be autistic, or if you're diagnosed, this is a place where we get to hang out. You are in the right place. We're going to be this Easter day, we are going to be talking for an hour and a half, 2 hours about autism. And so come on in, be putting those questions in the chat, and we're going to get started here very soon. How's everyone doing today? Hello, hello. Something on my mind that I'm just going to share while we go. If you're new here, I'm an autism dad. I have 2 kids diagnosed with autism. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst, and I run a company that provides services to people diagnosed with autism. And I am a huge autism advocate. Now, I just made a video today. I don't know if you guys saw it yet, but something that's been on my mind. I've been seeing this thing that people are saying that 1, masking isn't real, and 2, unmasking is a trend that doesn't need to happen. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but what is masking? What is masking? Well, masking is concealing or camouflaging autistic traits. The video that I stitched today was a woman saying that that autism and those that have low support needs are not masking. What they're actually doing is that they just grew up, their brain developed similarly to neurotypical kids, to where now when they're unmasking, they're just trying to act like an autistic person. And it got me all riled up. It got me real mad. And so I made a video about it because of how harmful that rhetoric is. It's harmful to say that autistic people need to mask or act as though they're not autistic. This is well established in the research. Masking leads to burnout. It leads to anxiety. It leads to depression. It is linked with an increased idea of self-unaliving. I want to be cautious about how I share that. Okay, let's go ahead and answer some questions here. Hey, let me know, where are you guys from? Those of you coming in, where are you from? Put the state or the country. I want to get to know where people are, and I'll introduce myself a little bit too. Mine is high-functioning Asperger's, whose emotions are all over the place. Okay, thank you. And we don't make them shed, or we don't make them mask, right? We don't make them mask. I've got autism, and I find it hard to talk to people and look at them at the same time. Casey, that is so common. And so people saying that you are, the way that you mask is you force yourself to make eye contact. And that can cause physical pain and anxiety. And instead, unmasking is the acceptance of, hey, you don't have to look at someone. That's okay. That's a societal norm that you can break. All right. Oh my goodness, we got people from all over the place. Arizona, Massachusetts, Kentucky, Missouri. Beautiful. Guys, thank you for being here. Be tapping on that screen as soon as we do get to 10 or 20,000 likes. I do go through the autism news of the day, so be tapping on that screen. Rachel says, I struggle with eye contact. Yeah, that's so common. My child has ASD and never gets dizzy. Is that her thing or an ASD thing? Okay, so I haven't read any studies about unable to get dizzy, but I have definitely seen autistic people with a huge desire to stim by spinning. And so whether or not they get dizzy, I think it's more about that the sensory input of spinning outweighs the desire to avoid dizziness. But yeah, I haven't heard any research about people with autism less able to get dizzy. Is it contagious? No, autism is not contagious. It is not a disease. It's not something to be cured. Autism is developed in utero. It's how the brain was developed. Not contagious, but largely genetic. My son loves being dizzy. Yeah, Moonlight, thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Mama Bear, for sharing the live. You guys, everyone share this live. Get it out there to people. We're going to be talking about autism today. I know I missed some questions, but if you do want to guarantee that I will read anything that you have to say, even if you disagree with me. If you go over to the YT platform and post it there, I will be able to read everything over there. I have much fewer viewers over there. What about the siblings of autistic people? Sam, good question. Good question. So I got to say that I believe that some of the most incredible people on the face of this planet are siblings of autistic people. And I know that is bold. I know that's bold to say, but it is so common to be ableist. It is so common to discriminate or be harmful, hateful, and bullying towards people who are autistic. And autism siblings are filled with so much love, and they don't put up with that. My son, for example, he's 10 years old. My 3.5-year-old's autistic, and my son's been learning about autism. And he came home from school and said, "Hey, Dad, I just made a friend, and he has autism. It's amazing. He's so cool." And, hearing that there was another person who was autistic, in no way did this impact this 10-year-old's thought about how odd or weird this boy is. In fact, it drew a connection with him. Autism siblings are incredible. Can it be reversed? What do you guys think? Put it in the chat. Can autism be reversed? That's a really good question. And I want to be careful about how I talk about this because I want to correct a little bit that autism is not something that needs to be reversed or cured. It is the way the brain developed. And so the answer is no. It is not reversible. It is not curable. Nor should it be. Autism is what makes my kids who they are. But you know what they do need? They need acceptance. They need love. They need an environment that supports them and people who are kind to them and support. That's what autism needs. Okay, you guys, welcome in today. Go ahead, be tapping on that screen as soon as we get to 20,000 likes. I do go through the autism news of the day, a little bit about myself, and an introduction to this live stream is that I'm an autism dad. I have 2 children diagnosed with autism, and I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. So I do ABA therapy, and I've been working with people who are autistic since 2013. Now, currently, I am not practicing as a clinician because I run a company full of clinicians that support people who are autistic, and I just support the team at this point. So now I go live on a daily basis here, you guys. So if you're just coming in and it still says follow right there, that means you're not following me yet. And next time I go live, you are going to miss it. Okay, so please tap on that screen to like it there and be tapping so we can get to 20,000 likes. My son is 3 and was just diagnosed with level 2 autism. Any advice would help single mom here. Zara, wow. Okay, I'm wondering how many other autism moms are in here or autism parents. If you're an autism parent, put 1 in the chat. If you are autistic or suspect you're autistic, put 2 in the chat. And if you're here to just learn and observe, put 3 in the chat. Let's get to know each other a little bit here while I address Zara's concerns. Zara, her 3-year-old was just diagnosed with autism, and Zara is brand new to this journey. Those of you putting 1 in the chat, or 2, or 3, put hearts in the chat for Zara. Her child was just diagnosed, and if you have a child who is diagnosed, that can come with a handful of feelings. Good morning, Lexi. Good to see you. I got a few recommendations. My very first one is I need you first to allow yourself to grieve. You're not a bad mom if you are grieving that your child was diagnosed with autism. Grieve for a moment, and then let's get to the steps of this autism journey. There are steps to this. And the moment your child is diagnosed, Zara, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but the moment your child is diagnosed, your feed, your media, everything that you see, the input from other parents, everyone is going to be telling you what to do. And everyone is going to have something that is some hidden secret that no one knows about, that you need to do and spend money on and time on to help your child. And my entire platform here is to dispel all of that misinformation. There are things that you need to do, but most autism parents think they need to do 100 times more than what they actually need to do. The very first thing that some people get mad at me for saying, because the first thing you do if your child's autistic is not for your child. The very first thing that you need to do is build a village. It is hard to do this alone. You need support. You need love. You need a group of people, your parents, your spouse, your cousins, your neighbors who can help and support you. That way you can still maintain who you are as a person. First, build a village. Second, get clarity by getting a diagnosis, which you've done, Zara. And third is you need to build a care team. This isn't about creating a bunch of diets and detox protocols and buying a bunch of stuff online. No, none of that. If your child is autistic, what you need to do is build a care team. You don't have to be the expert. You don't have to carry all the load and the pressures of how do you help your child. There are professionals out there who are expert in taking care of autistic people. Let me tell you what those therapies are that you should consider. The first is ABA therapy. The second is occupational therapy. The third is speech therapy. And the fourth is mental health therapy. Now, your child doesn't necessarily need all of those things, especially if they can't communicate well. Hold off on the mental health therapy until they're communicating well and if they have signs of anxiety and depression. But occupational therapy, speech therapy, ABA are incredible resources. And you build up your team, and that takes the pressure off of you. You guys, I do break down all of these steps. Someone said you should write a book. Guys, I already did that, but it's free. I don't sell a book. I just give it out to you guys. It's on, I just announced it yesterday and released it. So go to the link in my bio. You can download that free ebook that breaks down the 5 parts of this autism journey. Keep yourself grounded. You don't have to do as much as you think you do, but what you do is put all of your effort, time, and resources into those things that actually make a difference. Okay, let's go ahead and keep answering some questions. My 4-year-old daughter is getting evaluated for autism tomorrow. What do they do at the evaluation? Wow, Alex, this is exciting. Your daughter is being evaluated tomorrow. Now, the first thing I want to say is if you are going to get an autism evaluation for your child, you are not going to get an autism diagnosis. You are going for clarity. Okay, that's a common misconception because I see parents all the time. They think their child's autistic. They go in for the evaluation and then they don't receive an autism diagnosis and the parents are disappointed. Now, that's not the point of going in. These things, you go in and you want clarity about why is my child struggling? How can I help my child? We are building clarity. Now, the moment you have that clarity and they give you that diagnosis, then we can act and make decisions and state that your child is autistic. So what do they do in the actual evaluation? Well, check your email because they probably emailed you a bunch of online surveys that you need to complete about your child. It might include the Vineland, the MChat, that they are going to use to build the profile in the diagnostic report. And if you have those done before the evaluation, they'll be able to move a lot quicker. In the evaluation itself, typically it's maybe 30 minutes to an hour of a parent interview where they talk to you, and then 30 minutes to an hour of them observing the child where you can't interact. Typically, they let you in the room to observe, but you can't interact with your child, and they're completing the ADOS assessment. Okay, let's go ahead and continue on some of these conversations. Vaccines do not cause autism, neither does Tylenol. OG Cat is spot on. Thank you, OG Cat, for being here. Let's see here. It's in the gut. Nope. Autism is not in the gut. Guys, I hear this a lot. Can I tell you where the gut theory comes around? This was a couple decades ago. And the belief here was a leaky gut, where what they said was that the heavy metals that you consume as well as from vaccinations those heavy metals, when you start digesting them, they leak out of the stomach if you're autistic, and travel to the brain and cause toxins to enter the brain. That's where this all started. Now they switch it a little bit since that's been disproven. Now they say it's in the gut, in the way of the brain axis theory, which has not been found to explain autism. Now, the biggest indicator is all the studies, and I have them linked in my bio, that share that the gut health strategies and detox protocols do not reduce autistic traits. They don't. Now, what I will say is gut health is important. Nutrition is important, but not to the point of going and doing detox protocols or anything like that. What you're going to want to look at is people who are autistic typically do have bigger or more GI issues. They're constipated more often, and that can be uncomfortable. And yeah, you're not going to learn to communicate well if you're constipated. And so addressing gut health is important, but it's not related to the autism. It's just general health. What makes you feel you have all the answers about autism? Heather, I don't have all the answers about autism, but I am very well read on the research of autism. Let me introduce myself a little bit. It sounds like you probably came in a little bit later, and I can give you a little bit of my background. I tell you when I don't know something, but I have sources that I cite, but I'm an autism dad and a very passionate one. I'm an autism advocate. I meet with my local legislators all the time to advocate for people who are autistic. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. I've been working with people who are autistic for over a decade, and I'm the CEO of a company that provides services to people who are autistic. And I come on this live every day, and I learn with you, and I talk to you, and I don't try to be controversial. None of the stuff I say is controversial. My mind changes all the time as research changes. This is not a political live. This is not a like here are my crazy ideas live. This is just grounded. Okay, that's all we're doing. We're just grounded here, and we talk about what does the bulk of the evidence say, what do most autism experts say, and what are those things that are not worth the time to do. We're for sure Tylenol is not linked to autism, right? I've had to take so much during my pregnancy. Mackenzie, let me talk a little bit about what happened there. So there was a Harvard study that did actually show a correlation between Tylenol and during pregnancy and autism. And so when they made that announcement, that study they cited was not made up. However, studies all the time find correlations. But when you dig deeper, usually those correlations, when it's tied to autism, you rule it out by confounding variables. And so further research after that study was published came out showing some of those confounding variables. For example, we know that infection in a mother during pregnancy can lead to autism. And what do mothers take when they have an infection? And if there's pain, well, they're more likely to take Tylenol. And so when you factor out some of these confounding variables, the subsequent studies have not demonstrated any correlation between Tylenol and autism. So don't stress it, and it's you being comfortable and able to get through your pregnancy, and your mental health is so important. Don't feel bad at all if you take Tylenol as advised by a doctor. Yeah, here's the thing that bothered me about the Tylenol stuff is pregnancy is incredibly challenging and painful. I know it's one of the hardest things a lot of women ever go through. And one safe medicine has been Tylenol forever. And to preemptively go and before the research is settled on it, advise all pregnant women to no longer take Tylenol was a little bit of an overstep. And we saw a huge decrease in Tylenol intake and prescription in emergency rooms as a result over the past 6 months. Really fascinating. All right, you guys. Tylenol may contribute a little, but I don't see how it would cause autism. Yeah, it doesn't contribute. There's no correlation now that they rule out the confounding factors. Doctors seem to say yes or no. He has symptoms, but not enough. Okay, how do you actually go about and get an autism diagnosis? So you can't just go to your pediatrician. You can't just go to your primary care physician and get an autism diagnosis. They should be fairly trained in autism and catching the early signs. In fact, pediatricians are required and advised by their board to conduct screeners, the MCHAT, at 18 months and 24 months. And so they do the screening, but the screening can't diagnose autism. In fact, you can do those screeners at home. I have them linked in my bio for free. It's just the MCHAT for toddlers, and then the RADS 14 is a great one for adults. They're validated screeners that tell you, hey, you should consider going to a psychologist to get evaluated. Now, the most common person who can diagnose autism is a psychologist who's trained in autism. And they do a full evaluation. Typically, insurance will pay for it. And you are able to, let's see, you don't even have to have a prescription from the pediatrician usually. My son was just diagnosed level 1 autism. Any tips to help him self-regulate? Absolutely. What does he enjoy doing? What is already regulating for him? Most kids, they already know what those things are, and it's us stopping them from doing it. I see almost daily on my live, people say, hey, how do I get my kid to stop stimming? And the answer is always you don't. You let them stim. You let them regulate. You approach things in a different way. One of the best things you can do is recognize that a large chunk of their behavior may be communication. If they struggle to communicate, large part of problem behavior and dysregulation can come from not having the words to say. And so as you work on communication, problem behavior typically goes down. Do you think autism and ADHD are linked? Okay, let me know in the chat if your child is autistic. Are they also? Do they also have an ADHD diagnosis? Put yes in the chat if that describes you or your child, both having autism and ADHD. And let me tell you, there is a link. There's a link between autism and ADHD, and the link is about 50% of people who are autistic are also diagnosed with ADHD. About 10% of those who are diagnosed with ADHD are also diagnosed with autism. And so there are absolutely a link between autism and ADHD. However, it's not the same spectrum. It used to be that when a person was diagnosed with autism, they could not also be diagnosed with ADHD. They said ADHD was explained by the autism. But as they have studied autism and ADHD more, they've found these are not just separate conditions, but they're also conflicting diagnoses. And so what do I mean by that? Well, ADHD craves for change and chaos, and not necessarily chaos, but novelty, and not doing the same thing all the time. Autism craves stability and routine. And so in a lot of ways, the diagnoses, they conflict with each other, and no matter what the person does, they can't regulate themselves. And so one of the best things that we do know for autism, there is no medication, there is no supplement, there is no diet that has been shown to address autism symptoms. However, ADHD, on the other hand, one of the leading things that doctors are able to do to quiet the ADHD brain is medications. And so don't hesitate to talk to your pediatricians, especially if they're over the age of 6, to consider that as an option. Gianna says, Kylan, do you work with older children with autism or adults? I could use advice. Yes. So now most of the people that we work with are higher support needs, adults and teens, also children that we work with. We have a couple clinics that are actually dedicated to adults and teens who need support. So yes, I do have a lot of experience with that. But these are typically like people that never had any kind of therapy. They're really struggling. They don't have a whole lot of words and ways to communicate and some pretty intense problem behaviors. And we address that and have a big impact in their life. Leah says, try raw honey, organic orange blossom honey, teaspoon a day, look up benefits. I'm sure for any person, there are a lot of nutritional advice that you can give. But for autism specifically, there is no diet that is generally recommended or supplement that is recommended across the board for autism that has been shown to address autism symptoms. Any link between autism and heavy metals? Richard, that is a good question. There have been a few studies that have shown a very slight increase in heavy metals in people who are autistic compared to those who are not. We have to be really careful interpreting that, though, because there is no indication that any heavy metal is tied to the autism symptoms. Where this comes around is we do know heavy metals can be neurotoxic. Mercury poisoning can have detrimental impacts on your brain. It can cause a brain injury. And so, but at the amounts that are found inside of people who are autistic or not autistic typically is not at the level that they need to be treated. And that is one of the most common things is people say, oh, like it must be if heavy metals are neurotoxic, then even just a little amount is making your kid autistic. Let's go and strip their body from heavy metals. And I really need to urge caution against this. I really do. If you just have a couple supplements that are like vitamins, okay, you might be wasting your money, but I'm not going to yell at you. However, if you even consider chelation therapy because your child, you took a test and they came back and said, oh, the heavy metals are concerning, I need to tell you right now, do not do that. It breaks my heart that 1 in 15 kids who are autistic will undergo chelation therapy. Chelation therapy is the medical treatment advised for severe mercury poisoning or heavy metal poisoning, where they just were exposed and they need to undergo chelation therapy to remove all those toxins from the body. And the problem with that is it doesn't just cure and get those levels down to where they should be, but it can strip your body of essential metals that it needs. There are so many cases of kids who have to be hospitalized because of anemia after chelation therapy. There are children who have died or who have unalived because of this. And so please, I advise you and recommend talk to your doctor before you start any of that, and no pediatrician in their right mind is going to prescribe you chelation therapy. Oh, Lexi, thank you so much. We did hit 20,000 likes. That is when we do the Autism News of the Day. This is my favorite part of the live stream where we get to take a pause from answering questions, and we just take a minute or two to go through some news coming out about autism. And it really depends on the day what we go through. Gianna says there are other ways to detox the body. Yeah, the body detoxes on its own. We got kidneys, we got liver, and they function properly. There's no indication that people who are autistic, that their kidneys or their livers are not detoxing properly. Well, no medical professional who's a legit doctor is recommending detox protocols for your autistic kids. Okay, let's go ahead. And I know I say some things sometimes that sound unpopular, conflicting. Again, I'm not mad at you for trying those things. We try to do everything, but for new families coming in, I really try to dispel this misinformation so that their time and efforts are not going in vain. It is expensive and time consuming to do all of these detox protocols, and I'd rather that time and effort be spent to go on a date night, go get out of the house, go hire a babysitter for a night. Okay. The news of the day is coming out of Connecticut, in a town called Glastonbury, not the England Glastonbury, but the Connecticut Glastonbury. If your child elopes, if your child runs away, put elope in the chat. I want to know, is this a common thing that we are seeing? Elope in the chat. Date night, WTF. Yes, you take care of yourself. You're going to better be able to take care of your child. You go and you do something just for you and hire a babysitter. You're going to come back more refreshed with more patience and a more straightforward mind to be able to address and work with your child. So absolutely. I talk to parents every single day who have never once spent a day away from their child. And they're spending all this time doing detox protocols when what they need to do is go and take care of yourself. So yes. Okay, so elope. Love it. Okay, so eloping is terrifying. My child, it's not so much he's trying to escape, but it's the heedless to danger wandering that he ends up doing. And so there was a news story coming out of Connecticut that says a 9-year-old child with autism eloped, ran away. Now, the outcome of this was yesterday, and it happened around 8:30 p.m. 8:30 at night, this child ran away. And yeah, how terrifying. A lot of times these news stories end terribly. Now they called a search party. They had so many people respond to go and search. They had canines. They had state public safety partners, drones, various police departments and fire departments searching for this child. Now, the moment that the child ran away, imagine what those families are thinking. Where do you think that emergency responders searched first? This is the protocol for autism. You're not going to want to hear this, parents, but the number one place people are advised to go and look is water. Where are the sources of water nearby? And they go and they search those areas first. And that way, if they have a better chance, a lot of these stories end in, unfortunately, drowning. Now, this one, I am so excited to report that after an hour and a half of searching, they found this child walking down Main Street of this town. He wasn't at water, and he was safe and returned to home. That is how I want to give the news. I am so grateful for the people that went out and looked. It had an impact. They were able to successfully find their child. You guys, those parents, I just know they have to be so grateful right now. And I feel so bad for what they had to go through, but I'm so glad that they found him. Wow, Loyal says that's where my son was found 2 years ago, safe in a lake near our home. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm so glad they were safe. The Candy Coolest. Let me just update you real fast. I just shared the autism news of the day. A child in Connecticut ran away, an autistic kid, 9 years old. They called in everybody to search and helped, canines, drones, everything. They went near water first. After an hour and a half of being reported missing and so many people coming to help, the child was found walking down Main Street of that town. All right, you guys, thank you all for being here. I love going on these lives, you guys. I love talking to you guys. We do it every day. Usually it's noon to 2 Eastern time, but on Sundays it's a little bit later. Happy Easter, everybody. How did Easter go for your kids? Did your kids care about the Easter stuff? My son, he's 3.5. This is his, fourth Easter, and he had no idea what was going on. He has no idea what the routine is. He has no idea why there were baskets. And he was happy that there was some chocolate, though, for him. So he loved his Easter basket. I love that. Love that. Aisha says, I have 2 autistic children. Amazing. I'm struggling to find a fitting job while having mild autism. Any advice? Yes, Quinn. The number one thing that I recommend to people looking for a job who are autistic is you think you're doing your future employer a service, or that it could be a good thing, viewed as a good thing, to disclose that you're autistic. Now, I'm going to question that and say, during the hiring process, do not mention autism. And you're not lying. You're not being dishonest. They legally are not allowed to consider autism. You're doing them a favor and helping them be legally compliant. You're helping them out by not bringing it up. Because if you do bring it up, then their biases, even if it's not on purpose, their biases will factor in. And so you are not required, and you should not tell them about autism during the hiring process. Now, here is what I do recommend that you do, okay? As soon as you get hired, now is the time that you identify what is going to make it so that you can be successful. Autism is a disability that's protected under the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. That means that at work, there comes certain protections for you to help you be successful. Now, this is not, hey, I need my job to be easier. This is, I want to do a good job. I want to be successful. What kind of support do I need from my employer so that I can be successful? And so as soon as you're hired and you start, you talk to human resources. You don't talk to your boss. They won't necessarily know what to do. You ask, hey, I need to have a conversation with HR just about an accommodation. You talk to them and you recommend, hey, I have autism. What would really help me is maybe a break 5 minutes every hour where I can go in the other room, put my headphones on for 5 minutes and reset, regulate myself so I can come back and be successful. You share something like that to HR. They can set you up for success. You guys, autism is not a end of life sentence, okay? It is not. Did you know currently 40% of autistic kids go on to go to college? I think it's going to be higher than that because those going to college who were diagnosed were those most strongly impacted. Now that we're diagnosing a broader range of people, I think that statistic will go up. All right. What is this coddle time? What does that mean? What does that mean, coddle time? How do I work through PDA in an extremely bright child? Let me know what coddle time means. Are you concerned about how I'm talking? Do you feel like I'm coddling someone by talking about how to protect people with disabilities? Am I coddling someone who doesn't have legs by telling them they should be in a wheelchair? Is that coddling? Okay, how do I work through PDA in an extremely bright child? Are you guys familiar with PDA? If you've never heard about PDA, and it would be helpful for me to touch on, put PDA in the chat, pathological demand avoidance. Put PDA in the chat if you've never heard of this, or if you think it would be a good thing for me to talk about. I'm happy to cover some things. Okay, we got some people with PDA. Let me go ahead and cover PDA. Again, if you have something that you want me to read, maybe you think I said something so outrageous, you want to correct me, I promise I will read any comment out loud that comes through the YT platform. Is it true there's cases of reversal? Reversal is the wrong word, but sometimes the literature does state reversal. It's growth, it's development. Okay, now to talk about PDA. Pathological demand avoidance is a subtype of autism. It is a profile of autism. Now, PDA is not officially recognized in the United States as a diagnosis, but in the UK it is. And there's talks of it being considered for the next version of the DSM to be a profile under autism. But it is very real. Just because it's not in the DSM does not make it not real. It's a valid diagnosis in the UK, and it's something that we see quite often as professionals. So pathological demand avoidance is typically associated with those on the spectrum who are considered lower support need, like level 1. And what it is a strong aversion to demands or people of authority or a loss of autonomy. It is a strong drive to be independent and to not do what someone tells you. Now, this is not just being rebellious, okay? This is such a strong reaction that it is physical. Like we are talking about, you ask your child to go and brush their teeth, and it causes a physical fight or flight reaction to that response. Very similar to ODD. Yes, Valerie, very similar to ODD, but it's a profile underneath autism. It's a demand, or it's a drive for autonomy, and so how do you help a kid who's like this? This isn't just them being rebellious. I mean, you might as well have gone and told your child to go touch a hot stove. You wouldn't do that, right? But that's how their body interprets it. And so how do we work with a child who hates being told what to do? You definitely have options. One of the best options is be careful how you frame things. You can say, instead of saying, go brush your teeth, you say, hey, we're leaving for school in 10 minutes and you still need to brush your teeth. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to wait a few minutes to be able to go and do it? Oh, you want to wait? Let me set a timer then. You set a timer, it rings, let them go and independently go and brush their teeth. So it is making it so that they have more autonomy and choice. There's other more challenging strategies of actually making demands not as painful for them. And you can work on that with them. Oh, VOA. I was watching the Kanye West documentary, and it very much gave those vibes. Interesting. I haven't seen that, and honestly, I don't know much about Kanye, but that's interesting. Why does my 28-month-old want to be physically attached to me 24/7? He's not like that with anyone else. Hey, you're speaking my language today. My son, okay, my 3.5-year-old was once so against any form of touch that I would just melt. My heart would melt if he sat on my lap for 5 seconds. He's autistic, but lately that has completely shifted. That I am his favorite person, and he wants to be touching me and be with me in extreme close proximity 24/7. And it's a unique challenge. And so I feel that. Something that I will say is I think your child probably feels very safe with you. I think you regulate them. You are stable. You are consistent. This is a beautiful and a good thing. And just enjoy the loving that they're getting in. It's not always going to be like that. Remember, parenting comes in seasons. That's not always going to be the season. I'm an RBT. Could you give me more information on how ASD affects someone's comprehension to demands? Maybe? Is that what you were saying? Oh, I like that, Tanya. They have safe people like they have safe food. What's the recommended time for them to be on iPad tablet per day, nonverbal, 4 years old? Okay, so there is not a clear-cut recommendation of how much time to be on the iPad. I will tell you, your child's screen time did not cause their autism. Your child's screen time did not impact their autism. For a lot of our kids, it's regulating, it's calming. And for a lot of our kids, it is the way that they communicate. It is their voice. And so what I personally do, this is just what I do with my kids who are autistic, is I fill their day with activities and therapies. And so screen time is not restricted in the sense of you only have 1 hour, use it wisely. It is like, hey, like we're not at therapy, you're not at school, you're not doing this, it's not dinner time. Now is a good time then for you to be playing on your iPad if you want to. And it ends up being a couple hours a day probably, but it's not like the entire day. So fill it up with positive things that they can be doing. Yes, I teach my son through homemade YouTube videos a lot. Yeah, okay, so my son, we made videos that are about reading. And so we actually made videos of us reading to our son. His special interest is books. He can read all day. And so we have, 30 books by now of us just reading to our kid, a couple hours worth of us reading books to our son. And he goes, whenever it's on, he goes and finds the exact same book. He matches and flips through the pages at the exact same time that it's on the screen. And so we found a way, to make screen time even like a good thing, right? That is a helpful thing. That is not brain rot TV. That is like, hey, we're going to go read. Okay, MJ. So how ASD affects someone's comprehension to demands. So as an RBT, it's not about comprehension of demands, but it's how do they react to the demands, and recognizing that, number one, a child is allowed to say no. One of the best things that you can teach a kid who's autistic is how to say no and that they don't want to do something. And if you say in ABA, you're saying, hey, come and sit at the table, we got to do some trials, and they say no, like, oh my gosh, that is the biggest success of the day. They just advocated for themselves. I've heard of RBTs telling kids that they're not allowed to say no to adults. That is damaging. And I say this as a BCBA. It is damaging if we are teaching the kids that they have to comply with everything that an adult is doing. Instead, how do you appropriately say no? And then if they're saying no too often, how do we help support them so that it's not as painful or bothersome to do things that are necessary to do? Okay, let's go ahead and keep answering some of these questions. I heard there are grants available to help with tablets. Danielle, that is I'm guessing tablets, not tables, tablets. So if your child needs an AAC device, like an iPad that they can use to communicate, your insurance may pay for it. If you go and talk to a speech language pathologist in speech therapy, they oftentimes work with insurance companies to get your child access to a communication device. Lexi, no one has put any questions on the YT platform. So, yeah. If a question comes through on the YT platform, I read it immediately. Don't feel like you have to, but if I'm not getting to your question or you want me to say something out loud, I'll definitely read it. I know, usually a lot of people are over there commenting. Saying no is a skill. They need to learn how to advocate for themselves. Yes, it is. They absolutely need to learn how to advocate for themselves. And then if that becomes a problem and they just say no too often, or they don't respond well to you saying no, toleration is something that can be worked on, but not in place of self-advocacy. Do you believe vaccines are a cause? No, I believe there's zero correlation to vaccines and autism as it is outlined in the research in my bio. It is a holiday, so people may be busy. Yeah, we got a lot of good people on here. We got over 200 people. Hi, my son started speaking at 3 and 6, and 1 month after we realized, it won't let me see the rest. Let's see. He's already knowing to read. Yes, okay, so hyperlexia is a real thing. People who are autistic often do learn how to read earlier. Sometimes they may be hyperlexic. Most parents need to work on patience with their children with autism, yeah. And patience on themselves, I think, is a big thing. Curious Sir says, what do you think about improvisational theater games for boosting social skills? Oh, yeah. The more that you can make it fun to socialize, and the key here is giving scripts to kids. A lot of people explain autism, if they're an adult, as though they are performing a play and everyone else has the script and the lines and everything memorized, but they don't, and they don't know what to do in certain situations. And people may laugh and judge because everyone else seems to know exactly the right thing to say in every situation, but they don't. And so role-playing and practicing different various social situations absolutely can promote learning of social skills. Can you explain the levels of autism? Yes. Let me explain the autism levels. Tell me in the chat, what if your child was diagnosed with autism, or if you were, what level were they diagnosed? Or if they weren't given a level, say no level, or none. What level was your child diagnosed? So there are 3 levels, and this came about in the changes to the diagnostic criteria in 2013, that they outlined this more as a spectrum, right? They included Asperger's in the diagnosis now. And so level 1 is what Asperger's was, sort of. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with autism is the levels are not a perfect system. They are extremely flawed. Extremely flawed. Here's how I look at it. It's like going onto a bathroom scale. And it says 150 pounds. Then you get off, you get back on, it says 180 pounds. You get off, you get back on, it says 120. Like every single time you step on it gives you a different number, even though you're doing it right after each other. You're not going to buy that bathroom scale. You wouldn't trust that bathroom scale. Well, we see the same thing with autism and levels. That one psychologist may say level 2, and another psychologist may say level 3. Because within autism, it is very clear based on a score whether or not someone is autistic, but it is not clear. There's not a standard way to differentiate what level they are. And so I hear all the time that parents see levels as like their child's future potential of like, oh no, we're not saving for college. He's level 3. And they like use the level as part of the identity and the reason for their decisions moving forward. When the level in reality was just that moment in time, one psychologist felt like their support needs lined up with that level. 1 is low support needs. 3 is very high support needs. In practice, I'm going to tell you a little secret here. Psychologists want you to think it's a lot more technical than this, but let me tell you what I see psychologists do all the time. Level 3 refers to non-vocal, that they don't have a way of communicating well. Level 2 is they have some words, but it's mostly like single words. They're not fully conversational. And level 1 is they're fully conversational. Yes, the majority of the time it is based on their communication level. It's sad, it's not accurate, it's not how it was meant to be. But since there's not a standard for what is considered level 1, 2, and 3, that's what I see. Okay, everybody, if you are new here, about every 15, 20 minutes, I try to do an introduction because we do see a lot of new people in here. I'm curious today, how many people are just coming across me on their For You page for the first time? Anyone new to this live, put FYP in the chat if that describes you. If you just barely saw me on your For You page today, and here you are, put FYP in the chat. There we go. Look at all these people. Thank y'all for being in here. Wow, what a good group. Okay, let me tell you what you're getting yourself into by sticking around here. If you're here, welcome to the village. We are a village of autism advocates, of people who love autism, of people who love people who are autistic. You are part of this village now. And so make sure that you see the follow button. We have to create a positive space where if we have autism parents or we have people who are autistic, we give factual, simple advice with love, with care, and with support. I am an autism dad. I have 2 kids diagnosed with autism. I personally am not diagnosed, though people tell me I should get an evaluation. I've done the screeners. They say no. So I haven't jumped and done an evaluation. But I do. I am a board-certified behavior analyst, so I've done ABA therapy for a long time, worked with people who are autistic for over a decade, and I'm currently the CEO of a company that supports people who are autistic. And that's what I do, you guys. Happy Easter to you guys. I love having y'all in here. I go live on a daily basis for about 2 hours. And I got to tell you, it's my favorite part of my day. I don't need to be doing this. People don't realize this, but I'm a young guy, but I made some good business decisions a long time ago. And I was retired as of 3 years ago. I was done. I was retired. And I said, you know what? I just have something inside of me that says I need to fight for people who are autistic. And I started a company 3 years ago. I started a company to support people who are autistic, not because I needed it. I actually haven't taken money out of it. It's cost me more than I've gotten out of it. But in the past 3 years, we've grown. We're now opening our 4th clinic in the state of Utah to support people who are autistic. I will always fight for autism. This was before my own children were diagnosed. So after I started that company, just because I had this passion for people who are autistic, my own son, I started seeing signs. And I never thought I'd be an autism parent. I thought my fight was on the other side. Come to find out, my fight was on both sides. And I had to sit on a wait list to get my son diagnosed. I had to listen to a psychologist tell me, hey, I know you're frustrated about the year-long wait list, but think of it from my perspective. It's great job security. And I said, oh my gosh, you know what? I don't care about your job security. I'm going to go and get diagnosed somewhere else, and I'm going to call every psychologist and get this evaluation done in a couple of months. And so I have fought for my children from day one. I have made choices in my business to benefit them, to create a higher standard of care that other providers in Utah have to step up and fulfill. And now, why do I go live on a daily basis? What is this TikTok all about? Well, it's the same kind of thing that I started watching some TikToks. I'm like, you know what? I have a lot of thoughts on this. I need a voice. I need somewhere that I can go and talk to people and share my knowledge and share compassion and love with other autism parents and other autistic people. And so I started this. I started about 3 months ago going on these live streams. And I have found a lot of really incredible people here. Thank you for the money gun, Fighting Spud. Look, guys, these gifts, I hope you know how much I value that. The gifts, it's something that that really shows me how much my platform means, and it tells TikTok to send it out to more people. So thank you so much. We do have some comments over on the YT platform. Lala says, my grandson is nonverbal, but otherwise very high functioning. So they placed him between 1 and 2. Yeah. Okay. So again, don't overthink that. If your child is diagnosed 2 or 1, that has no indication on what they're in the future they're going to be able to do. Over on the YT platform, Sarah says, happy Easter, Kylan. Happy Easter, everybody. It's been a great Easter. We woke up early. We did some Easter basket hunting, and we did some church stuff. And then we've been doing this live, and I can't think of a better way to spend my Easter. Lala says, I understand you. I worked with autistic children. My youngest daughter teaches autistic kids, and now my oldest has a 3-year-old nonverbal son. We were built for this blessing. Guys, I don't think any of us really fully expected to be autism parents. If you're an autism parent, I don't think you expected to be that way. This wasn't something you planned on. It's not something that you made up because you just had this inner desire to have an autistic child. I hate it when people feel like autism is a trend, or autism is something that is exaggerated, or is something that is overdiagnosed, because we're finally understanding autism. We're finally understanding the spectrum, and our kids are finally getting some help. Okay. I'm starting an educational travel nonprofit. Wonderful. Any tips for being inclusive? Okay. Let me see what the rest of that comment was. Any tips for being inclusive to people with autism? Yes. Oh my gosh, I do. I absolutely do. Who here has taken their kids on a trip before and they're autistic? I avoid that at all costs. You absolutely need some sensory-friendly options. And if people know how to take their kids on a trip, please let me know. Message me, because that's something we have not figured out. It is painful. It is difficult. And our kid is outside of their routine, and traveling is just something that hasn't seemed doable. Now, what it would take to travel is having an extra person just to focus on your child. How amazing would it be if there was a nonprofit that sponsored families on an occasional basis to go on a trip, and they pay for a nanny who's trained in autism to come and spend time with you, and you're able to go and with support be able to go and be successful on the trip. That'd be incredible. Beach trip every year. Lala, that's amazing. I love that. That's what I hope to include. That would be amazing, Leah. That would be so cool. Oh, simply that. I was saying that would be cool. It is just someone saying they want to start a travel nonprofit. And I shared what it would take for my family to be able to go on a trip is someone would have to be there to take care of my autistic kid, at least my older one. Oh, there is something called Autism of the Seas. What is that? That help with kids while you're on a trip. That sounds expensive. That sounds really expensive and out of reach, but who knows? Maybe there's a nonprofit aspect of it that helps reduce the cost. But I think that'd be really cool. Long car rides and hotel rooms doesn't work well for my son. Yeah. We take lots of breaks on the car ride, rent a house instead of hotel, lots of beach toys, one of us always with him. Interesting. They go on cruises with you and help you do respite throughout the day, and they do an island getaway. What? Oh my gosh. Has anyone done this? Has anyone done something like that? That'd be amazing. That'd be so cool. I would love that. All right. Immunization cause it? Nope, it does not. Vaccines don't cause autism. I scored 464 on the RAD. Wow. Okay, that might be clinically significant there. Yeah, send me the info, simply. I'd love to hear about that. I mean, that would make travel possible. Here's the thing is, if you're doing a nonprofit, you got to understand people with kids with autism, a large number of us, going on vacation is the last thing on our mind. I'm just trying to make it till, next week. And I can't imagine trying to plan a vacation for my kids. And if there was some sort of a setup that include respite care during a vacation, that would make it actually feel like a vacation for the parents instead of torture. Like, holy cow, that would be incredible. Tips for picky eaters. Bangy, let's go ahead and get through some of that. Tips for picky eaters. If your child or you are autistic and you are a picky eater, put picky eater in the chat. Let's see how many picky eaters we got here. Oh, the beautiful pass for national parks is free for life too. Yes. Okay. Yeah, put picky eater in the chat. If you or your child are a picky eater with autism, put picky eater in the chat. So why are kids with autism so picky with what they eat? This is so common. A lot of it comes down to sensory needs and sensory input, that we know that that there are texture issues and taste issues, and there are so many sensory, so much sensory input coming from the mouth that it can be overwhelming to try new foods and eat something that is a sensory nightmare. And so, oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Fighting Spud. That really does mean a lot. These flowers, I see it. The hat mustache, I really appreciate that. So with eating, the number one thing that I can advise you is avoid this toxic parenting culture of telling your child they have to eat what you cooked or they go to bed hungry. That is harmful to autistic kids. Oh my gosh, Gianna, thank you so much for that crown. That was really cool. You guys, the gifts, that means the world to me. Thank you so much. Guys, the best way to approach this is, number one, what are their safe foods? Sarah says, my son is diagnosed with ARFID. Yes. So ARFID is the official diagnosis that includes like extreme picky eating and restricted eating. So number one is, what is the safe food? Is it nuggets? Is it pizza? Is it French fries? Those three seem to be pretty common for kids with autism. Now, if you have their safe food, the number one thing that you can do is always have their safe foods available and let them eat their safe foods. That is number one. That is a place to start. Do not jump in and try to just completely restrict what your child eats. Okay. This is why I'm so bothered by a lot of these like extreme diets or detox protocols, because it can cause to malnutrition in your child because they're just not going to eat quite often. And so give them their safe foods first. And then what I want you to do is start feeding therapy. Okay. Feeding therapy isn't usually its own label of service. Their insurances don't typically have like a feeding therapy billing code that people bill. It's not a standard just feeding specialist. Most of the people who do feeding therapy for kids with autism are occupational therapists or speech therapists. Sometimes ABA can help, but most of it is OT and speech, and they're the experts. They are really, really good. If they're trained in it, they are really good. And get one of them on your team to help with the feeding, because it's going to be a slow, long process to get your kid to eat more food. Feeding therapy, if they come once or twice a week over a couple of years, think of 3 safe foods to 10 safe foods after those couple of years. Okay, we're not curing ARFID. We are supporting it slowly, cautiously, and in a way that helps the child feel safe and secure and well fed throughout the whole process. Which kind of food is good for them? They're just kids, you know. They're just kids. Whatever you'd feed a kid. My kid eats pretty good. His favorite foods are mac and cheese and pizza, I think are his two favorite foods. And also veggie sauce packets. That I think that encompasses maybe 90% of his diet. But he ate an apple the other day and went back for more. I gave him an apple yesterday, and he had some of it too. So we have noticed that if we give my son a new food while he is walking and playing, it's easier. Yeah, that's amazing. Nanya, thank you so much for the hand heart. Thank you so much. Are nonverbal autistic people telepathic? I'm curious. What do you guys think about that? Does anyone believe here that they're not nonverbal autistic folks are telepathic? Let me tell you a little bit about where this came from. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why this is coming around. The telepathy tapes has made its round, and I'm going to be real honest with you about where I stand on this. Telepathy tapes is based around spelling to communicate. Now, I've listened to the podcast, and they explicitly say this is not facilitated communication. This is different. But when you break it down, it is very, very similar. What they are doing is the facilitator holds the board, and the goal is you end up not touching their arm, but it starts with prompting, and you get them to type on a keyboard. The idea is you assume competence in your child, then they can, kids can actually write letters, and so let's go ahead and prompt them to spell things out. Now, if you look, the facilitators typically are moving the board, and then they interpret what is being typed as what word it actually means. Usually it's the parent doing it. And they feel like what they're doing is freeing this inner mind. Let me tell you the problem with this. The problem is that the question always comes up, who is actually authoring that language? Who is authoring the words? And this has actually been well researched. It's been studied. When you have a facilitator and a nonverbal person is communicating and the facilitator is interpreting, then that is the person facilitating has been found to be the author. The question is authorship. And so the studies that they've done have been, okay, give a piece of info to the nonverbal person, and then give a piece of info to the facilitator. And then what piece of info, if you say blue to the autistic kid and you say green to the facilitator, what is going to be communicated through that board? And it's always whatever the facilitator had, whatever their info had, whatever info they were given. And so it's always shown to be the facilitator. So what telepathy tapes did is they say, you know what? Do you know why it's always what the facilitator said? It's not because the facilitator is speaking for them. It's because the kid is reading the facilitator's mind. And that, in my opinion, is wrong. I believe that what telepathy tapes recommends, the spelling to communicate, not only is it harmful, but it takes away the voice of the child. And it puts the facilitator's voice in front of the child. Now, I want to be clear here. We're not talking about an AAC device. We're not talking about a child independently using a communication device. We're talking about the facilitated aspect of guiding a child like a Ouija board to talk. That is harmful. If a child is able to, with a keyboard, be down, no one's touching it, and they are able to communicate with a keyboard and have a computer read it, I mean, that would not be, I would have no concern with that. But having an intermediary, having the facilitator, that is where the concern comes in. And it's always the facilitator's voice coming through, not the autistic person's voice. All right, you guys. How can we help? Oh, there we go. Why does my son run towards the door when you go outside in restaurants? Hey, thank you so much for the melon juice. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. My child's the same way. He always goes for the doors. Trying to escape is my guess. Are they trying to escape, Shazine? Now, how do we support that? How do we help that? Number one is safety comes first. If your child has a tendency to elope, you need to make sure that they have some sort of a tracker. If they have ever eloped and they've gotten out, you need to make sure that you are tracking them. You need to have alarms in place, alarms on your doors. They make AirTag trackers that are built into their shoes or clothing, or you can use something like Angel Sense or a smartwatch. But if your child elopes, they need to have something like that on them. That is number one. I actually stitched a video the other day. I don't know if you guys saw this one, of a teacher saying, parents, no, what she said was, dear parents, stop sending your children to school with an AirTag, and talking about how harmful it is that parents just keep wanting to track their kids. Who here has a kid who's autistic that they track? Put yes in the chat. If you have some sort of a tracking device on your kid with autism, put yes in the chat. I absolutely do. Like we do. We need to know where our children are. I've already had a situation at school where I called. My kid wasn't home on time from the school bus, and I called, and they said, let me look on that. And they said, it looks like there was a misunderstanding and he was on the wrong bus. They had sent him the wrong place, and they figured it out. We were able to resolve it. But schools make mistakes. My kid runs away. Of course, we're going to have something to know where he is. Now, I said, I was being silly, and I was like, oh, she's right. Don't get an AirTag. Those are too basic. Get something fancier like a smartwatch or Angel Sense. My honest take is you don't need something fancy, okay? You can. That can have added features, but an AirTag's pretty good too. Like you can, an AirTag is sufficient because it can tell you where your kid is, but it doesn't have the calling features. But there is no subscription to it, so it's pretty good. All right, you guys, let's bring some people up. Sometimes on this live stream, we do bring people up, but I got to tell you, let me tell you something. I notice my viewers tend to go down when I bring people up, and it's because people stop chatting. And so we're going to do our best to keep the chat moving, keep putting your thoughts in the chat, and we're going to bring people up to have conversations with them. Be requesting up if you want to ask a question, and we will for sure bring you up. Andy, I'm going to bring Andy up first. Lexi, hello. Lexi's a good friend of mine, and Andy, just hold on a minute. Oh, it looks like Andy didn't load in. We'll bring Caleb in here. Who was next? Caleb, go ahead and wait just a moment. I want to talk to Lexi for a minute. Is that okay, Caleb?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Wow, that was cool. What is that? A sax groove. Thank you so much, Fighting Spud. Lexi, how did the event go yesterday? Tell everyone what the event was and how it went.
Hi, everybody. So the event went amazing. There was 700 people that showed up to our autism awareness event.
How many?
700.
Whoa, that is amazing.
Yeah, last year we had about half of that. So we were very excited. There was about 700 people there. Everybody who I've gotten in contact with, or who has made any comments about our event, felt very happy that we were bringing awareness to what autism is, what it looks like, the different levels, how kids function differently. We had a lot of information from ABA services, as well as we had feeding therapy there, like people who offer feeding therapy.
Was there any advocacy going on? I know Arizona has really been going through some stuff. Was there any action there going on to try to get legislators or politics involved at all?
I don't think so. So there's only 4 of us that actually promote the event to a large mass and stuff like that, because there's 4 of us that really kind of get everything together. But it's more for the community to come together and understand what autism is.
That's cool.
But there was a lot of different services out there, a lot of different information. Something that I have to send you because I want you to look into this, because I don't know, it didn't sound right to me, but we'll do that in our private chat.
Send it to me.
Yeah, but besides that, I mean, everybody had a great time. Everybody was so happy. We have sensory tables, we had raffles for all kinds of free toys. we had specific toys for children who have autism, because we have children who have autism, and then just other people who don't have autism,
Yeah.
or who just want to understand what it is, or maybe are advocates but don't really have like a tie to the community. So it was really nice. It was so nice. I met Bad
Oh, did you
at
guys get
the
to connect
event.
in person?
For reals. Yeah, for
Oh, that's
reals. I got to
good.
give her a
I'm
hug.
glad, Lexi and Bad. That's great. Coming together in real life. I love it.
Yeah, so it was really amazing. I will post videos. Yesterday, I was shot. I was done. I was overstimulated. I was frustrated just because it was a lot. It's a lot of noise. It's a lot of cleanup. It's a lot of setup. It's a lot of takedown. It's a lot of everything.
Oh yeah.
So yesterday, I was just tapped out. I didn't even get on TikTok at all. Really. So I'll post more stuff on my page. So if you want to see what the event was, and how it looked, and kind of like what coming together as a community looks like, at least here in Tucson, I will post that stuff. So follow me if you would like to see that content later on.
And follow Lexi even if you don't. Thanks, Lexi. Thank you for sharing that. Caleb, hello. Where are you from, Caleb? What connects
Hello,
you to
sir.
autism?
I'm from North Carolina, and
Wonderful.
autism, I'm not entirely sure. I actually joined partway through your stream. I
Wow.
have suspected for some time that as an adult, I may have some level of autism. I don't know that for sure. But what you're talking about, picky eating, has been something I've struggled with all my
Oh
life.
wow.
Um, and I also have a condition called neurofibromatosis. May have heard of it, may not. But with that does come heightened, I don't know if the right word is risk, but heightened risk of things like autism, ADHD,
Oh
dyslexia. I know
wow.
I had ADHD as a child. I'm fairly sure I'm dyslexic. Any advice there on how, as an adult, I can proceed with something like that?
Yeah,
Get more
that's a
information
really
without
good question.
spending
How old are you?
lots of money. 31.
You're 31 years old, and let me first tell you a little bit about why we're seeing so many adults now getting diagnosed. Have you thought about this at all? I even saw this question in the chat, like why are there so many people getting diagnosed right now? And really, a lot of it is adults coming out and getting diagnosed. Have you thought about that? Why there's an increase?
Really, my theories on that, you see all these people that they're like, oh, it's this or it's that. My thoughts are just we're getting better at testing. People are getting tested. I'm assuming people have been autistic like they are now for decades and decades and centuries. It's just nobody actually got tested. So that's kind of my thought process on the
You're
whole
a smart
thing.
guy, Caleb. You're a smart guy, and you're spot on. I couldn't have explained it better. And it's actually, yeah, it's very factual what you're saying, because in 2013, you're 31, and so we're talking, in the 90s, that there's no way that they would have been doing screeners to try to identify autism early on. Until 2013, autism was only diagnosed in those profound cases before 2013. And now that the spectrum opened up, and combined Asperger's in there, it's we're seeing a wider net to go and be able to identify with. And so you can absolutely go. And there's two benefits to getting a diagnosis. The first is it can give you clarity and validation. And so even if it's not autism, but whatever a psychologist comes back and says, if it is autism, that can be extremely validating to hear that, hey, I struggled 10 times more than anyone else to understand the social norms of these situations, to understand those unwritten rules going on, to build relationships, to manage to regulate my emotions. And it gives some validation to that. And then the other thing it does is it can inform care that you get. And so if you're getting therapy, I mean, I go to therapy. Therapy's great, and what it can do is it can inform what specialists you should have in your life. If you're diagnosed with autism, you should find people trained in autism in adults, and be able to offer meaningful therapeutic advice to you. And so the way that here's what you're going to want to do, Caleb. If you suspect you're autistic, and this is for anyone, I recommend the very first thing to do is to take a screener. Take an autism screener that's free online. One of those I have linked in my bio, the RADS 14, is totally free. It's 14 questions. It's very quick, and it can tell you if it's worth your time to go and pursue an evaluation. Now, these screeners don't diagnose autism. They just tell you whether or not you should go and pursue a diagnosis. The second thing to know is that do you have health insurance, Caleb?
I do. I have fairly good health insurance through work. I'm not sure if anything like that is covered, but it's very
Absolutely.
possible.
Yes, absolutely. Vast majority of the time, you can get a psychologist evaluation covered through insurance. And so you're going to want to find someone in your area that accepts your health insurance. Otherwise, I've heard people pay $3,000-$4,000 for an evaluation before. And so you're definitely going to want to get if you do a pre-screener and it indicates, hey, you have a high likelihood of autism, you're going to want to call a psychologist and get on the wait list. It may be a year before you can even get in. You can call around though and figure out when it is, but it's worth doing. It's worth doing, and it gives you validation and it gives you guidance on therapy.
Okay, awesome. I'll look into that. And then, I guess, side question, considering you were talking about picky eating, is there any advice you would give to an adult that struggles with that with or without autism?
Oh my goodness. My recommendation for adults would be the same as kids: is don't feel bad about sticking to your safe foods. And then as an adult, you can be a little bit more intentional about trying new things, but keep it slow. Like, you can really stress yourself out, burn out if you are just trying to do too much too soon. And so stick to your safe foods as you're probably doing right now, but then do slow. It's about the slow progress, Caleb.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. All right. You have a good one, Caleb. All right, you guys. What a nice guy. I like Caleb. You guys put hearts in the chat for Caleb. Caleb's a good guy. Wealth says they said term of Asperger's is hardly used now because spectrum is wider. They use levels. Yeah, Wealth. So Asperger's is no longer an official diagnosis. That ended in 2013, and now it's just autism spectrum disorder with the 3 different levels. So you were very close there in what you were saying. Vegner says, I break up with boyfriends all the time. Do I have autism? So autism is not defined by a single characteristic, but the combination of characteristics that may describe how you act. One of those can be how you do with relationships. That can be a trait of autism, is struggling to build relationships. It's not for everyone, but that is one aspect of it. Remember, autism is 2 categories. It's social, which is things like relationships, but also communication and understanding social norms and rules and things like that. The other side is like the sensory stuff of, engaging in stimming and repetitive behaviors and having high sensory needs and sticking to routines, things like that.
I saw a couple questions that were interesting. One of them was asking, what is autism? And the other one wants to know how adults get diagnosed.
Good question. Okay. So autism is a neurodevelopmental condition. It's not something that you catch later in life. It is not something to be cured. It is a difference in how your brain operates. And I kind of gave a little bit of that description, that some of the earliest signs that you see in kids, in toddlers, revolve around social and sensory and behavioral items. And so that's things like missing some milestones around communication and not pointing and not making eye contact, things like that, and also stimming and engaging in repetitive behaviors. Now, autism is not an intellectual disability by default. And so just because someone has autism doesn't mean that their IQ is low or that they have really high support needs. However, that can be a comorbid diagnosis, that someone has an intellectual disability alongside of autism. Let's see. And then how does an adult go and get diagnosed? Well, I went through that a little bit with Caleb, but you're going to want to go and first do a screener. Okay, the RADS 14 link to my bio is a great one that you can do, or the full RADS. The RADS 14 is just 14 questions. The RADS R is like 80 or more questions. And so you're going to want to do a screener first. If you're at high risk of autism, what you're going to want to do is schedule an appointment with a psychologist, find one that covers your insurance, and how they actually diagnose it they're going to ask you about your childhood. To be diagnosed with autism, it has to have been around and noticeable since birth or very early on in life noticed. And so if it's something that just started happening, after a traumatic event or after a brain injury or later in life, you can't get an autism diagnosis. So they're going to be looking for, did this happen from early on in your life? And they're going to do some surveys to figure that out. And then they're going to see about how you interact. And so they may do things like play games with you, get to know you, and just, probe some things to see how you respond in some situations. So plan on a couple hours that they spend with you to determine if you're autistic. Okay. Let's see, any other good questions that you saw while I was chatting?
Sorry, I'm chatting with somebody in the chat, but I don't think that she can come up because she's only 13.
Oh,
Yeah, so let me see. Let me go
okay,
back.
I'm confused. What's this level thing? My daughter's 18 and never given a level. Gianna, you're not missing much. Don't stress the levels. Don't stress the levels, you guys. The levels, some people don't even give the levels in the United States, even though that's part of the diagnostic criteria. And in the UK, my understanding is they don't do the levels at all. And the levels is simply saying level 1 is low support needs, level 3 is the highest support needs. And so 1 to 3, 2 is moderate support needs. And so think of level 1 as like Asperger's, which is not a diagnosis anymore. And then level 3 is what some people call more profoundly impacted autism.
So we have somebody who says that my wife says I have autism. She can tell I masked all my life.
Oh, wow. Well, my wife says I have autism, and she can tell I masked it all my life. Yeah, okay. So just be cautious that we're not self-diagnosing, right? We don't do self-diagnosing. However, you can say, I suspect I have autism, or my wife suspects I have autism. Now, just know, something that you may not know is if your spouse is saying that, they may not be saying it like this, but they're likely recommending that you go and get an evaluation done. And so they, even if they're not saying that, that might be a good thing that helps you understand yourself and how your brain works. I recommend it. Absolutely.
What if you live with a person who literally does not believe in autism?
Oh my gosh. Is someone asking about that?
Yeah, that was a question in the chat from
Ugh,
Autistic Dope Door.
that's the worst. I just don't understand how people say I don't believe in it, as if it's something that's like you can believe in. Like it's a description of how a brain operates. It's not something that's debatable on whether or not it exists. But somehow we still get people in here who deny the existence of autism. And what that does is it makes it so that there's not understanding and validation for the struggles that you're going through or your child is going through. The worst is when you have a child and one of the parents is adamantly opposed to getting evaluated. And a lot of that comes down to a fear of them. They are scared of their pride being impacted. They're scared of them having a child or a partner or a family member who is different. And that label to them makes them different. And so that is very, very harmful. And all I can recommend for that is continuing to educate and not care about what they think. The way that I explain it to someone, if they're a parent and they're denying that their child may be autistic, I always point out that that you're having the label or not does not change the struggles that your child has. The label is not a end of life sentence. It is not going to impact them every day because at one point they were given this label. What it is going to do is give them the supports today that they need today. That's all the label is for. The label is to give you supports that you need today. And the label itself, it does more harm to reject that label than your fear of harm that the label itself is going to do. What's the main factor that causes autism spectrum disorder? I don't think I've touched on this very much today. What causes autism? What causes autism, and why are there so many people diagnosed with autism right now? Well, I can tell you, autism is largely genetic. It's largely genetic. There we go, Fighting Spud. You knew it. You knew it. Largely genetic, you guys. 80 to 90% genetic. So what about that other 10 to 20%? If we say it's largely genetic, what is this other part? Well, I can tell you, it's all about how the brain develops in utero. It's all about how these environmental factors, every single environmental factor that we have identified having to do with autism comes around during the pregnancy of the child. And so, or the pregnancy that the mom is going through. And so some of those environmental factors include things like the age of the parents, infections in the mother, exposure to pollutants such as auto pollution and pesticides and wildfire smoke have been found to be correlated with autism. Premature birth. But anything after birth, there have not been any clear metrics of things that have been found to cause or suspect to impact the development of autism. Yeah, go ahead, Lexi.
Caleb said that he got 17 out of 42 on the red cyst, so some traits, but may not have it. He's going to research other conditions.
Yes. Okay. So if you're in the middle zone, so 14 is considered clinically significant. Anything over 14 is like, hey, this isn't the highest level of like you're at risk, but it is clinically significant and worth looking into. Now, if you want if you're right there in the middle, if you're super high, I would say like, yeah, you probably want to call a psychologist. If you're right there in the middle, it would be good to go and do the full RADS. So the RADS 14 is the condensed version that's still valid, but the RADS R is the full version that you may want to do and get a more detailed evaluate or a screener there. Do you have this testing on your bio? Yeah, it's linked to my bio, the RADS. The RADS 14 is, yeah, and the MChat for kids is.
There's somebody named Turkish Delight Isla that said that she requested question about late diagnosed autism.
Maggie got 42 out of 42 on the RADS. Yeah, guys, we try to get everyone up. We can probably get a couple more people that have probably requested up. Yeah, we got a lot of people that have requested up. Let's go ahead and see what we can do here. Always hard to pick which ones to do. We got a few people in here. We'll see if Kat is able to load in. If not, we'll go on to the next person. I know sometimes people request in and then I don't see it or I'm not letting people up and then they may not be on the app anymore. Okay, let's go ahead. Turkish, I think you're next in line. Hello, Turkish. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you from?
I'm from Florida.
Wonderful. Love Florida. And what can we do for you today?
All right. So I feel like I'm in a bit of an odd situation. So I guess my whole life I felt I was a bit different. And actually in college, I double majored in autism behavioral studies and
Really?
special education.
Holy cow.
And so I am a special education teacher, and it was finally last year in May that I got diagnosed.
Wow.
And
so you're diagnosed with autism? You're
yes,
autistic.
level 1.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And it was very freeing, I feel like, for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I got very depressed. And I noticed, especially as I tried to unmask more, I feel like I'm regressing in some of my other skills.
Yeah.
And so I just feel almost like a baby again, but with no guidance.
Yeah.
And so I guess, and it's hard too, because it's like I'm somewhat of a professional in this field. I should know more, but even I don't know.
Well, but you're dealing with yourself. If it has to do with you and your family, all your knowledge goes out the window. And it doesn't make you a bad professional. Even though I'm a board certified behavior analyst, I struggle with my own kids, and I go to a BCBA, and I'm known in the field. Like I developed ABA Wizard, which is a platform that 80% of all BCBAs in the world have used to learn about ABA and prepare for the exam. And yet still me, I'm like, you know what? Like I'm blinded. I'm blinded. There's, a reason that there's conflicts of interest to working on yourself or friends. So I understand this unmasking thing. Tell me what unmasking looks like for you.
I guess it's just stop trying to be so people pleasing and kind of, for a lack of better term, like look normal. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make eye contact when I don't want to. I'm not. I'm gonna allow myself to stim if I want to,
Yeah.
and different things like that.
Yeah.
But I guess my kind of overall question is, it's like I don't know where to go from here in terms of like I do see a therapist, but it's not like specifically for autism.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like I don't even know what kind of services I need or what kind of help I need. But I know I'm in burnout all the time.
Yeah, let me tell you that usually, masking is so correlated. There's so much research that goes into masking, leading to burnout, anxiety, depression, and even thoughts of self-unaliving. And so, absolutely, like you're on the right track of trying to unmask. Something I'm going to question though is what autism looks like for one person is not what it looks like for everybody. And so if there are aspects of it, like let's say you're not going to look at people in their eyes when you don't want to, but maybe that's not even a big deal for you and it's more comfortable to make eye contact. You don't have, like, unmasking looks different for every person. And so I'm curious also what you meant by you feel like you're regressing a little bit. What are some of the things that you've noticed be more challenging or regressing for you, or is it just like you felt a little bit more depression that you've had?
I also forgot to mention the sensory stuff. Like sleep with my weighted blanket every night, wear headphones out if I need to. I don't care if people look,
Love
because I don't like the loops and I like the over the ear.
Yeah.
But in terms of regressing, yeah, a bit of depression, but more of just, I guess, maybe before diagnosis, it was like, how do I word it exactly? Maybe I just need to try harder, or maybe I'm trying to think of how to put it into words.
Yeah.
But like maybe it felt like there was not necessarily more optimism, but like, you just have to keep pushing along.
Yeah.
And then once I got diagnosed, and then especially when I think back to childhood and all these different things, yeah, I get kind of depressed. And then it feels like it's harder for me to, go to work every day or do things that normally I wouldn't like to do, but would be easier to make myself do,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like sometimes you're like the act of trying to unmask everything at once is just debilitating or overwhelming and it's a lot to do all at once? Like, is it being effortful to try to unmask, or have you found it being freeing and validating to unmask?
I guess a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I like just started, but I've barely put a dent to it. So I need to read it. This Unmasking Autism by Devin Price.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about that. Because I feel like part of my problem too is like, I don't even know who I am in a way. Like, I don't know how to unmask other than just the sensory things.
I think what
you
you
know?
need to hear is you don't need to be a different person. You don't need to fit into any specific profile. And what I'm hearing is it's almost an identity crisis that when you've gotten this diagnosis, you have felt like, hey, if I unmask, now I'm turning into a different person that I don't even know who that person is. Does that kind of describe what you're feeling right now?
Kind of, or it's more like I've masked myself for so long that I don't know who I truly am.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to take time. You said you're a year into this.
Yes.
Okay. Look, my recommendation to you is recognize that you spent, how old are you now? Like 25?
Yeah, I'm 27.
Okay. For the past 25, 27 years, you have been masking and building habits that the past year or so you have been trying to undo. And that takes time. It's not a 1-year thing. This is a lifelong thing. But my big takeaway from this is, one, what I want you to take away is don't feel like you have to unmask. Don't feel like you have to unmask anything you don't want to. Don't feel like you have to be anything other than who you actually want to be. And then 2, just be patient with yourself. This stuff takes time. And it may be helpful to switch up therapists. I don't know what your relationship is like with your current therapist, but find someone who really does understand autism and masking, because they may need to dig deeper into some of this to help you really find who you are.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it. And when you would you say when you look up for like therapists and stuff, like on, I guess, psychology or whatever, is there somewhere that you can put for autism, I'm guessing?
Yes, so there are a lot of search platforms depending on your area that you can find their specialties, and find someone who has autism as a specialty. And what you're going to want to look for is find one where they don't have a ton of specialties. If they have a list of 50 specialties, they're not specializing. They're generalizing. And you're going to want to find someone that only has a few specializations, and one of those is autism. And that would be an incredible, that's one of the big things. One of the big benefits of having a diagnosis of autism is now you're able to get customized care and therapy by someone who understands what you may be going through.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you so much for your time and answering my questions.
Good luck, Turkish. Welcome to the village, and please be back to report and let us know how it goes.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. You take care.
All right, we'll see ya. All right, you guys. Thank you all for being here. This has been an incredible day. We're going to call it done for the day. Lexi, did you have any other thoughts for Turkish? I didn't give you a chance to talk. I don't know if you had thoughts.
That's okay. No, I just wanted to let her know that she's amazing and everything that she's doing to, have a double, sorry, I lost my words.
You're good.
But to have gone to school and gone through that and still work within the community and still provide those services for children who need them, even though she is neurodivergent herself, I think is really beautiful, because she has an understanding that not everybody has. So the fact that she's still out there in her community trying to do better for other children who have neurodiversity and stuff like that, I really wanted to tell her she's very appreciated, because I wish that there was somebody in my current community who would be like that, because it would make things a lot easier. But I think that she's amazing, and keep on this journey, and everything you said was practically what I would say too.
Love it. All right, you guys. Well, thank you, Lexi, and thank you everyone for being here. If you're new here, just know I go live on a daily basis. I'm an autism dad and an advocate of autism, and I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and I just love this community. I love being here, and make sure that if it says follow right there, that means that you're not following me yet. And that means tomorrow when I go live, you may not see me. And so please hit a follow so you can find next time. And I also want to encourage you, as soon as you're done with this video, if you could hop off and go check out one of my videos, like one of the latest ones, and repost it or like or comment. That would go a long ways, you guys. I appreciate all the support. Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful Easter. Thank you all.
Bye.